Welcome to Between the Lines, a podcast. I'm Janine.
And I'm Jess.
And we both work at the Winkler branch of South Central Regional Library.
In this podcast, we talk about books with our own twist. We'll talk about the first half of the book and predict where it might be going.
And then finish reading the book and discuss the second half.
There will be snark, there will be spoilers, depending on the book. There may be references to violence, sex, or other adult topics.
So if that's not for you, stop listening now.
And alright, we'll get into this week's book.
So, today's book, something extra special, Amish Vampires in Space, an inspirational fiction novel by Kerry Nietz. Jebediah has a secret that will change his world forever and send his people into space. The Amish world of Alabaster calls upon an ancient promise to escape destruction, then end up on a cargo ship bound for the stars. But they are not the only cargo on board. Some of it is alive, or used to be. Now, with vampires taking over and closing in on the Amish refugees, these simple believers must decide whether their faith depends upon their honored traditions or something even older. This is the first book in the Peril in Space series, followed by Amish Zombies in Space and Amish Werewolves in Space, or maybe of space. So Kerry Nietz, the author, is a refugee of the software industry. He spent more than a decade of his life flipping bits. I don't know what that means, but anyway. First as one of the principal developers for the now mythical Fox software, and then as one of Bill Gates' minions at Microsoft. So there you go.
I'm just imagining him working for bananas. Oh,
yes. So, interesting concept for a book.
Yes, I didn't read the back of this one. Honestly, the title was enough.
The title,
to sell
yeah.
Me. Yeah. So, we do have both Amish Vampires in Space, Amish Zombies in Space, and Amish Werewolves in Space in the Winkler branch. But feel free to check them out. So what did you think, Janine?
Well, my first thought was, this is a little trippy. Like, when I heard the title, I was not expecting that it would actually be inspirational fiction. So that was kind of a shock to me. Am I loving this book? No. No, I am not. It is science fiction, which I think we've established on other episodes is not my thing. But this is my 5th science fiction book in the last year, so, there is that.
We're expanding your horizons to the stars and beyond.
If I stick with you, I feel like this won't be my last either.
No, I've got plans.
So, I found it to start off kind of slow.
It started off, like, if you had never read an Amish book before, I think it's good the way it started off because it covered a lot of basics. But if you've read any kind of Amish fiction before, you're familiar with the Amish, the beginning part's a little bit unnecessary.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say, I didn't realize that they were on an alien planet at the beginning because there's, like, no mention of the fact that Alabaster is the planet. And, like, normally there's, like, oh, and then there's this weird fruit and a strange tree and we had to kill a swamp monster or something. Like, they treat it like it's Pennsylvania.
Yeah. It's like they're on Earth, but it's not Earth. And yes, I felt the same way. All of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, so they are technically living in space on a planet.
Well, that's the thing. And, like, with the, like, he mentioned the different constellations at one point. I was kind of going, okay, are they actually different constellations? Because it does kind of sound like it's just something the Amish made up on Earth to go, like, no, we are going to call that Star of the Fish. Like,
yes. And, like, which kind of was surprising to me because I felt like there was a lot of detail in some parts that was very unnecessary detail, like describing how he lit the oil lamp, for example. And, like, I don't care about that. There's nothing to do with the story. I know how to light an oil lamp. I used to have an oil lamp in my bedroom.
That doesn't sound like a safety hazard at all.
Well, then it cracked and developed a leak. And yes, it was a safety hazard. Then I didn't light it anymore. But anyways.
And that's the story how Janine did not burn down her house.
Yes. Thankfully, there was no fire. Because we watched a fire video in school when I was in elementary school, and it terrified me.
Oh, really?
Yes, it freaked me out so badly that I was just terrified that our house was going to burn down.
Oh, we just had to watch things on being hit by trains.
Yeah. We watched that too. That was Driver's Ed, though, I think.
No, from a young age, we had to watch being hit by trains, yeah. I have an extensive amount of train safety.
Well, that fire safety video scared the living daylights out of me.
Did you ever have... We used to have what we called Farm Safety Day. I grew up in a small community, if you can't tell.
Yeah, me too.
Farm Safety Day, where there's like tractors and like, okay, don't touch the PTO, and never climb into a bin full of grain. I'm going, darn it, there goes my weekend plan. But they had a little firehouse thing that they filled with smoke, and you had to crawl through it.
Really?
Yeah, and the smoke smelled like syrup.
That's awesome.
But to practice fire safety, you actually had to go into their burning building and get out.
Oh my goodness. No, we never had that.
My school is a little bit more hardcore than your school, apparently.
So. Or we were just smarter farm kids than you were.
To be fair, I was a very smart farm kid. There's a bunch of town kids that...
Yeah, no, town kids don't know.
No, they don't. Sorry, town kids,
no.
but you don't know.
You don't know. No, we had bike safety day, though. But not farm safety day.
Yeah, they assumed that we knew how to ride bikes. Anyway.
It was learning how to ride your bike in town, and the hand signals, and you can't see me doing them, but I am, whatever. Anyway, back to the book. They were talking about their tingle and their tingleware.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what the heck?
Excuse me?
Like, it was a little bit...
That's the thing. Like, I've read a great deal of science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that tend to be consistent across different science fiction books. Warp speed, your spacesuits, your anti-grav stuff tends to be pretty consistent. This book, not so much. Like, there's the tingle suits, which... that just sounds so bad. And they had their slipways, and then when they went into... Oh, what did they call when they turn on their warp drive again? I forget anyway. But they use different terminology.
Mm-hmm. It's like
for a lot of the similar things.
Made everything up.
Mm-hmm. Their slipways, honestly, I found a little bit ridiculous, because they're basically travelators. Like, you're standing still on these things, and they zoom you around, like, down a hall. Mm-hmm. That's just a travelator. We have those in airports. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. I want sci-fi, darn it. Where's my flying pod?
Well, I guess for an Amish person, that would be pretty
I'm standing
radical.
Still and still moving. Oh, no.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's interesting.
Yeah. The spaceship, the sheer size of the spaceship, the way it sounds.
Smaller than I thought it would be.
Smaller than you thought?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought bigger. Like, that's like a cruise ship in the sky. Intergalactic
cruise being
ship.
a mile long.
A mile? Mm-hmm. Only?
At one point they said it was a mile long.
Okay, I probably read it, but
See,
it depends.
That's the thing. I've read a fair amount of science fiction books where they're multiple miles long.
How does that fly?
Bless you and your tiny ship.
How does that fly?
That's what the Amish were wondering.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did write down at one point, I'm 50 pages in, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
It does take a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it pops away to the... So it starts with Jebediah. I hate that name.
Jebediah.
I can't say Jebediah without going Jebediah.
I know, it does.
It starts with Jebediah and the Amish and his mysterious magical device.
His secret.
Which is basically just a summoning beacon.
Yeah, but it talks about his secret
the
a
amount
lot.
Of angst he had over a summoning beacon was kind of like pat you on the head.
I feel like the Amish are an angsty people.
True.
I don't know.
On the bright side, none of them will ever hear this, so they won't know what to say about them.
I was going to say, having never met any, but I actually have met some Amish people, so I can't say that.
I think it's like anything. Individual people, fine. As a whole, I don't understand you.
Yeah. No, all the Amish I've met have been very lovely.
Yeah. Lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. It starts with Jebediah, and you get introduced to the Amish community. But then it goes to everybody on the spaceship, and you get introduced to spaceship characters. And that goes on for long enough that I was kind of going, like, are we going to go back to the Amish? Or are you just going to, like, teleport them aboard? Or what? Yep. So, but then you bounce back a little bit more consistently after that. So that I found easier. But, yeah, it took a little bit to kind of get into it. And did. Especially, like, I'm used to learning new terminology and new science on the go. And this one still threw me a little bit. Yeah. Like,
it's not really a hard read, but it did take me a while to get through it. Like, longer than most books.
I was reading it and I was going, I'm only at chapter 7?
Yeah, I know.
Like, it, despite the fact it's no longer than the other books we read, like, it's just felt like it took longer. Mm-hmm. I don't know, it could just be the pacing or what. Like, the writing's not bad.
The writing is not horrible.
It's honestly better than I thought it'd be. I thought this thing was going to be like a dumpster fire of, like, Okay, you know, one of my favorite things to do is just scroll through terrible paperback books and judge them very harshly on the quality of their Photoshop. My favorite is, like, shifter romance books where somebody has not even done a good job of cutting out the horns of something and then just, like, rammed it on somebody's head. So bad.
No.
I was expecting this book to be that quality of writing where somebody just jammed a vampire in somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So, considering my expectations were very, very low,
Yeah.
it has exceeded those.
Well, that's good. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I have read vampire books. I have read Amish books. This, I think, is a completely genre all its own. But I just couldn't believe, like, when they actually came to get them, to take them away from their planet. Because their planet's going to explode or something. The sun is
Essentially, their
getting too
sun
close.
is going to turn into a red giant and swallow up their planet.
Yeah.
So their system is no longer habitable.
So Jebediah summoned these people, and they. So this
To be
was,
fair, he didn't know.
He
just,
didn't know
like,
what he was
pressed a
doing.
button on a random
Yeah.
device that has been in his barn for many moons.
it was passed down from his father and from his father before him, and yada yada yada.
And his responsibility is basically to stare at the sun, see if
Yes.
there's any changes.
Yes.
And then,
But like
in the case of changes, press this button.
when they finally came for them, and then it was this big discussion, and I was like, just where's your faith? Trust these people, right?
That's
and
the thing that drove me bonkers.
yes.
Like, Samuel, I want to smack that guy.
Oh my goodness, that guy's a yeah.
Words we're not allowed to use on the podcast. He's the bishop, was it? Yeah. So basically the leader of their community. And him and his little band of middle-aged men decided amongst themselves that people from the ship came down to Earth and basically went, your planet's going to blow up. You're going to need to come with us. Come with us if you want to live.
We found you a new home
Yeah.
because
It's been paid for. You don't have to worry about
your
it.
your forebearers put this policy in place for you many years ago because they knew this might happen.
Yeah.
So
Like, it's basically just, would you like a free ride to a planet that is not going to blow up?
yeah, and they're like,
Simple question, you'd think.
thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, and Samuel and his little band of middle-aged men decide for the entire population of the planet, which granted is not that many, that, no thanks, we're going to stay here and see what faith does for us. Mm-hmm. Faith ain't going to fix your son, dude. Like,
Yes, and then Jebediah comes along and tells the people what actually happened, and then the people vote again, and they vote on Jebediah's side. Mm-hmm. So then they decide to go, but then they shun him.
yeah, then he's left on the planet.
They're going to leave him there.
And they're like, oh, well, you need to repent.
You're shunned. You can't come with us. And I was like, he can come with you and still be shunned.
Yeah, it's a big ship.
you
it's
don't
a
have
mile
to.
long.
You don't have to talk to him. He can still come on the ship. Just don't acknowledge him. Isn't that what
Yeah, that's what shunning
like,
is supposed to be. Like,
you?
we're... it's
I
the
don't-
ultimate silent treatment.
I don't know, like, exactly, but my understanding is they still participate in things. You just don't acknowledge that they're there.
Mm-hmm. Like they said at
So-
one point that his wife was not allowed to... His wife was still allowed to live with him. Gracious of them. But they weren't allowed to speak or
Yes.
basically do anything. She basically had to pretend that he's not there.
Yeah.
Like, they can't eat together. He's got to have his little, other spot in the house or whatever. Like,
Yeah. But let the poor guy come along. Don't throw a hissy fit because he was right and you were wrong.
yeah. Like, it's just...
I know. I was like, can't believe they're going to leave him behind.
I know. I'm so glad that Sarah threw a fit and, like,
Yes.
actually got them to
Yeah.
give him a ride. Because, oh, it just...
Yeah. I mean, he is going a bit off the rails now into the English.
Is it off the rails?
Well, they would consider it.
They would consider it off the rails.
Yes. The table
Yes.
desk has
I
become.
consider just expanding your horizons and realizing that your little slice of the planet that is about to blow up is not the entire world. Or universe in this case.
Well, the Amish are simple people. I very much disapprove of all the thievery, though. Like, this ship is. It's like a mail carrier, basically, right?
It's a cargo ship.
Yeah. And so.
Think Firefly. With the cows. They took the livestock.
They took the livestock, which is funny. But, like, there's this one guy, and he goes into all these packages and, like, steals stuff and sells it. And I'm like,
He's a scrounger.
stop stealing people's stuff. I don't know. It bugged me.
I'm sorry, Janine. Do you not think that this happens with Amazon?
Perhaps. Is that where all my missing packages are? Why do they want my stuff?
Because then it's their stuff.
But, what? I don't.
Same reason this guy does. Resell, make money.
I guess.
To be fair, this is all allegedly. I'm not accusing Samsung or Amazon of doing anything. Please don't sue me.
Yeah, that would be really the last thing we need right now at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just was like, don't be a jerk, man.
The thing is, I'm kind of fine with the regular scrounging of the cargo and whatnot. But then they started stealing stuff from the Amish people. I'm going, hands off. If they trade it to you, totally
That
fair.
was the part where it started to really get to me, was when, like, they started stealing from the Amish.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm going, if you want to trade, if you want to actually make a deal for a shovel or whatever, go for it.
Yeah.
But don't steal from them.
Yeah.
They already do not trust you.
Exactly.
Like, why are you making this worse?
And they are well aware of what they have brought with them.
Oh, yes.
They know.
When you only have 5 shovels and a cow, you make sure that you know where all 5 shovels and the cow are at all times.
Why would you need 5 shovels, though, and only 1 cow?
Because then I can trade the shovels. There was a guy that was literally a broom maker. Shovels are not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, I mean, does anybody own 5 shovels? Do you own 5? You don't need a shovel.
I own, I think, 3 shovels.
Why do you own 3 shovels? You have nothing to shovel.
Snow.
But I'm trying not to give away too much personal information about you, so anyway.
Suffice it to say, that Janine sees no need for 5 shovels. I just like to be prepared in case I have to bury a body.
Okay. I mean, I could see having 1 shovel, and like if you get stuck or whatever. Anyways,
You gotta have a spade.
I guess.
You gotta have a square shovel. You gotta have a snow shovel. A variety of smaller shovels is also very handy.
I still don't know what you're doing with all these shovels, but I digress.
Not burying bodies.
And that Grill's character is a real nutter.
Oh, he is creepy as hell.
Yeah, I don't care for him one bit.
Just before these guys picked up the Amish people, they picked up a package that had a woman in cryo and a mysterious package that feels cold, which is a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yes.
Who's the other guy? The guy Kongi?
Is it Kongi or Kongi?
Kongi? Let's
I
go
don't
Kongi.
know.
When Kongi starts like opening up the package and then he's like climbing into it, I'm going, okay, like I'm picturing about a dishwasher sized package where I'm going, what the heck are you doing?
No.
But then he keeps climbing and it goes farther and farther and farther in, and I'm going, so are we talking like shipping container here? Like,
So my understanding was they picked it. It was like a building. What they picked up wasn't a building, but it was like a room or something. Like they were doing work there, and then they had
a mobile lab kind of thing.
Yeah, a lab. And they had an incident, and so they were transporting this lab somewhere else now. And
yeah, I just read it as smaller. I don't know. I must have zoned out during that part, but like, he just keeps going and going and going. I'm like, dang, okay.
And so, is the cryo woman the vampire, the original vampire? Do you
That would
think?
be my suspicion, because at one point you get a little clip from her point of view,
Yeah.
and she's conscious.
Yeah.
Like, she mentioned feeding just before she was put in cryo or whatever. And that she was aware of the fact that Grill kept coming to visit her. And
Yeah.
she was conscious of his presence constantly. And that, honestly, it seems like her being in cryo is more strategy than containment.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that like Greals is so attracted to her.
Oh, creepy bastard.
But like,
It's like The Passenger, but worse.
but I wonder if that's because of her vampire-ness, right? Because vampires are
It's that
made to
glamour,
attract,
yeah.
right?
Like, that's the thing, because Kongi, same thing. When Darley, the medic anyway,
Yes,
went to
Darley.
go check on him, he basically said, I'm fine. And she went, okay. And the other guy that was with her is like, what the heck? He's clearly not fine. Do something.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of mind manipulation definitely going on there. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's my understanding from other vampire things that I've read, is that they are meant to like be attractive, so that it
If you
will
can't
entice.
come in unless you're invited, you're going to do everything.
It will entice their prey to come to them.
But
So
yeah, Greals is creepy.
yeah.
Like, he keeps going and visiting the woman in cryo and staring at her longingly.
And then he talks to her like conversations.
Yeah,
and
like, it's like The Passenger. Is that The Passenger?
I don't.
The
know.
weird, Jennifer Lawrence, Chris, one of the Chris's.
Oh, Chris Pratt.
Yes. Same thing, like, he goes to talk to her in cryo, and that movie's creepy as hell, too.
Oh, I've never seen that.
How
one.
that one isn't horror, I don't know. He
Okay,
wakes
then.
her up. In a ship full, like, he's accidentally woken up by a technical malfunction.
Okay.
So he wanders the ship, he plays basketball, he gets bored. He finds a woman in cryo, becomes attached to her, starts talking blah, 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 and then wakes her up. Like 100 years before they're actually supposed to get to their destination. Basically ruining her life because they can't put her back in cryo. Because he is lonely. Don't like that movie.
Well, wouldn't you be lonely?
Yes, but why would I want to condemn somebody else to the fate that I'm already living?
So you don't have to live it by yourself?
I'm sure I could unfreeze a cryo cow or something.
Was it just the two humans?
Just the two humans. Oh, correction, there's a robot butler.
A robot butler?
Yes.
I assume that was not in cryo.
No, he was just activated when Chris Pratt woke up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I be honest and tell you that my first experience with cryo as a thing was Austin Powers?
Okay. I have never seen Austin Powers,
yes.
So I have no idea.
He gets put into cryo, and I'm pretty sure that was my first, experience with seeing it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what the first cryo thing I would have read would have been. I've read a lot of science fiction.
Well, this was a movie, not a book. Also not science fiction.
True. Austin Powers is Austin Powers.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's an entity unto himself.
Yes.
Yes.
Anywho. Vampires. What do you think of the vampires?
Okay. So, the book for me was getting a little gross at parts.
It was honestly not as... not as bad as some vampire books I've read.
Okay. It's definitely worse than Twilight.
It went farther than I thought an Amish Christian fiction book would go.
Yeah. It was, for me, a little gross. I was like, okay, I'm just going to, skip over these parts because no thank you. So be warned that there are animals harmed in the making of this book. If that bothers you, if that's triggering for you, do not read this book.
That being said, I don't think this book is any worse than... Okay, one of the books we have coming up is The Pawn by Stephen James. That's about a serial killer. I don't think this book is any worse than some of the, suspense Christian fiction I've read.
Okay.
There's some where... Cover your ears. There's just, brains splattered everywhere. And they're, talking about her picking brain out of her hair.
Oh.
This book is not that bad. That was Christian fiction, for the record. I don't remember which book, but...
What I wrote down was, way too much animal eating detail. Insert puke emoji here. And I read it right before supper time. Also didn't help.
I didn't have a problem with the eating animals thing. It was basically what I expected. That tends to be... Killing animals is how serial killers get started. Eating animals is how vampires get started.
Right.
It was expected.
I just didn't need the details, personally.
I wasn't expecting the vampire goat.
Yeah, that was...
The animals eating other animals is where you started to lose me a bit.
Yeah.
Because kanji is... Is that not like a... Is kanji not like a...
It's a food.
Indonesian dish or something?
It's some kind of food.
Yeah, okay. I'm not crazy, because the more I say it, the more I just go, that sounds like a dish.
I'm pretty sure it's a food.
Anywho, he gets turned into a vampire, which is a lesson not to climb into strange storage containers.
Although they haven't yet come right out and said that he's a vampire.
No, they haven't come right out and actually identified him as, that's the vampire. But he's a vampire.
Yeah.
He is experimenting, eating different animals.
In different ways.
And he eats from a goat multiple times. And the goat is almost dead, and he leaves it. And he comes back, and the goat is a vampire. Mm-hmm. And a vampire goat is where you lost me a bit. Because it's a goat. I don't like goats to begin with. Fainting goats are cool. You make a loud noise, they fall over. Frankly, I think humans would be quite hilarious if we had the same thing. Can you imagine? You start clapping and there's applause, yay!
And everybody falls over.
We probably would stop clapping after a while.
One rowdy kid in the library and all the staff's on the floor.
Probably a good thing we don't have that adaptation.
Yes it is.
Anywho. But the goat thing is I have questions. Because normally, I say normally, in the majority of vampire lore, in order to be able to turn into a vampire, you have to do more than just get bitten by a vampire.
Really?
Yes, because generally it's a case of the vampire bites you, either partially drains you of blood, or the vampire bites you and you have to bite the vampire and ingest the vampire's blood.
Ooh.
Yeah. That tends to be one of the two ways to become a vampire. It's generally not just a case of, I ate you, now you're a vampire. Like, unless there was more detail there that I missed, but it honestly just sounded like he ate from him, nearly killed him, and then the goat turns into a vampire.
That's how it works in Twilight also.
Carrie, you need to do more research that's not Twilight. But, like, there tends to be some kind of something besides just eating from them.
Okay.
Because to just feed from, like, if a vampire has to eat once a week, and just feeding from them is enough to make another vampire, that means you either A, have to kill every single victim, which is statistically going to draw a few eyes, unless you're in a vampire colony surrounded by other vampires and you have takeout, or you're making 52 new vampires every year, and that's not sustainable because at some point you will run out of humans or cows or animals that you can eat from, which is not sustainable for a vampire ecosystem. I get too sciencey in science fiction. But yeah, so I am intrigued to learn more about I'm interested in learning more about the process by which you're making vampires here.
Yes, because it sounds like a fair number of the Amish people have been quote-unquote sick, and then suddenly they're instantly well and better than they were before they were sick.
Yeah.
And so are those people all vampires now?
I'm kind of guessing because Daniel? I don't know. At one point they referred David, right? Because they referred to it as like one of those weird names,
yeah.
David or Devod.
Yes.
Which I kind of now want to go, everybody that I know go, hello Devod.
Devod. Yes.
He followed a goat, presumably the vampiric goat. And when he came back, he was sick. And then he was better within, I think they said at one point, like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I am kind of assuming that everybody that's sick is a vampire. Because his wife also came to the church elders and went, my husband is looking at me like I'm a steak. Can you stop that, please?
Yes.
And
yeah, but they haven't, he hasn't really explained a lot of that yet.
No.
And is there going to be, or are we just supposed to infer?
I don't know. I want an explanation because you can't just make a vampire goat without any explanation. You have to explain the vampire goat. So.
Well, yeah, it's not like math. You can't just estimate.
No.
Why this happened.
I need strict instructions on how to make a vampire goat. For a friend.
For a friend. Asking for a friend.
So.
Yes. I don't know. I finished the first half and I was kind of like, I don't know if I can read another half of this book.
I'm looking forward to the second half.
Yeah.
Partially because I need explanations.
Yeah.
I have a hard time not finishing books.
Well, me too. But I'm not sure.
It's not the worst book I've ever read. Is it the best book I've ever read? No, definitely not. Is it entertaining? It is entertaining me. Mainly because Vampire Goat came out of left field. I was not expecting that at all. But it's definitely more Amish than I was expecting.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was expecting the Amishness of it to be almost a footnote.
Yep.
But, like, he goes into, why he's being shunned, how he gets out of being shunned, and kind of he dives deep into the Amishness of the Amish.
Yeah, he definitely does. And, why do they do the things that they do and the way that they do them? And he talks a lot about the bishop. And I just really hate that bishop.
Oh, no kidding.
He's such a pompous... I don't have all the answers. Ugh. He is...
He's very much you'll do what I think is good for you, irregardless of if it's good for you or not.
I'm the bishop, you will do what I say. And maybe that's how it works. I don't know.
I'm the bishop, hear me roar.
Yeah. I don't know if that's how things work in the Amish community, but I don't like it.
I don't ever like it when any one person has too much power.
Yep.
That being said, the captain seems cool.
I'm not sure about the captain yet. I enjoyed the part where he and Jebediah were talking, and I wish they would have had...
I am kind of surprised, anybody can call the captain?
Yeah.
At any time?
I know. But he didn't even know he was doing it.
Yeah, but the screen that they were given in presumably the guest room still had that ability. I'm going...
Yes. But that's
They
only
must get annoying.
because they're in a special room because they're shunned, right? Like, none of the other Amish people have access to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
but that still means
but yeah.
that anybody that's put in those rooms, whether they be crew, whether they be non-Amish passengers, like anybody that has that screen,
Yeah.
can call the captain at any time.
Yeah. I mean, the captain doesn't have to answer, but
It'd get pretty annoying. Can you imagine like the number of calls you get? Like, hey, Cap, the vending machine's out of popcorn again.
but it also
Like, get annoying.
it seemed to me like the crew on the ship, it seemed like they weren't all totally familiar with each other. Did you get that feeling?
Big ship. Thing is, they were the crew is 300. Yeah, there's crew of 300.
Okay.
For being only 300, the amount of information they were not given surprises me.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think, hey, yeah, we rescued an entire planet of Amish people, you know, that get a station or a ship-wide bulletin or something. But there's a couple characters that don't seem to either know much about it or maybe they just don't care.
Maybe.
They're like, yeah, it's Amish cow, who cares? We get it from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But, like-
but you'd still think, though, like, if even 300 people is a lot of people, but presumably they're all on that ship together all the time.
Yeah, like, you'd
Or
expect them
most
to
of
know
the
each
time.
other a bit better.
At least know who people are.
Yeah.
You know, and be familiar. Like,
Enough that it's like, hey, Bob, in the corridor. Like,
yeah.
You'd think.
I don't know.
But I don't know. I'm not super impressed with the way the ship is run, honestly. With the captain, I'm like, I have a few notes. Your efficiency is down. Fix this. And the fact that it said at one point that there's only 2 pilots and they're both on duty at once.
Yeah.
Going, you got autopilot?
Yeah, how does that work?
Like,
I know.
I know you're basically going through warp speed, slipstreams, time, whatever they called it.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe more than 2 pilots?
Yeah, I know. I thought too. I was like, only 2?
Especially considering those pilots were also piloting the jump ships or pods or whatever they called them.
Yes. How did
Like-
that work?
I don't know.
There had to be more than 2 pilots.
There has to be. Maybe it's just 2 main pilots for the ship and everybody else is auxiliary. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've got questions about this book. I'm looking forward to finishing it.
I hope your questions will be answered.
Yeah, me too. Otherwise, I'll have to read Amish zombies in space and then Amish werewolves in space.
Yes.
And if my questions aren't answered by the end of that, I'm going to have
you-
to write him and say, I need Amish explanations in space, please.
Yes.
So-
Then your time will have been wasted.
Yeah. I will say, one of the things I found rather hilarious. At one point, they refer to a bonding learner's permit before you can get a bonding license, which is basically marriage.
Yes.
And I really like the idea of a marriage learner's permit. Like,
I know.
so, you think you're good at marriage. Let's road test that, shall we?
Yes.
Like-
I thought too. I was like, huh, interesting. They definitely do things differently on the ship in space. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the second half. It should be interesting, and at this point, I'm just hoping no more animals get turned, because we don't know where that goat is.
Yeah. From some of my research, I think there will be, but we'll see.
Well, it'll be interesting. Something you don't normally get in
Yeah.
regular vampire books.
I'm also interested to see if the entire ship gets turned to vampires or if some stay human.
Right now, I get the feeling that the characters that they're mentioning by name, apart from Grills,
Grills.
are probably gonna... Here's my prediction. Captain, not a vampire. Singer, vampire. Jebediah, not a vampire. Sarah, vampire.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see.
That makes me a little more motivated to read the second half
Let's see if I'm right.
to see if you're right.
I just gotta remember who I guessed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, at the end,
You
I'll just
basically-
go, I was right.
You said the 2 main men characters no, and the 2 main women characters, they're yes. That's what you said.
Actually, no, I'm gonna switch that.
Okay. I'm going to write this down so I remember for next
Singer,
time.
not a vampire. Captain, vampire.
Singer,
Because
no.
she's got the potential to actually be a captain. She's got the leadership qualities, and I can
Yeah.
see the author wanting to exploit that.
And then you said Jebediah, no,
And Sarah, yes.
and Sarah, yes.
Because we've gotten like pretty much nothing from Sarah's point of view.
That's true.
And there
Although-
has to be some kind of like,
What
oh,
about-
my family.
What about the baby? Will it be a baby vampire?
I don't know. I am curious about that. Because at one point,
When Kanji met her in the hallway,
Yes.
he sensed the presence.
sensed the presence of the baby. So I don't know. Maybe the baby's a vampire and she's not.
Ah.
Who knows?
Okay.
There's always deliberation in vampire books as to whether or not vampires can actually have children. And whether it's, if you're already pregnant and turn into a vampire, your child will be vampire. Or blah, 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 blah. Natural-born vampires rather than turned vampires anyway is a thing. So.
All right. I have written down your predictions.
I think Grills is going to be a vampire.
Okay.
He seems the type.
Yeah,
He's already in love with her. I can't see him resisting the glamour to actually
Nope.
stand up to that. So
I think it would be funny if the bishop was a vampire.
I'm kind of expecting him to be.
Yeah.
Kind of. You're just writing down everybody
I am.
who's going to be a vampire.
I'm writing down all of these things so we can see if we're...
Thing is,
right.
I think the bishop is going to be a vampire, and then he'll
hope
lead
so.
the vampire faction of the Amish. And then Jebediah won't be a vampire, and he'll lead the anti-vampire faction.
And so will they all live on the same planet?
I don't know. Are they actually ever going to get off the ship?
Do you think they're
You've
just
got
gonna...
a bunch of hungry guys and a finite food source.
Yeah.
Although we do know Jebediah survives because he's an Amish zombies in space.
Yes. Yes, we do know that.
But whether he gets vampired and then cured, which we don't know if that's an option yet.
Oh, cured, yeah. See that? I would like that because I'm very uncomfortable with all these Amish vampires. Like, just the thought of it makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Really?
Yes.
The bonnet and the fangs, or
I don't know what it is,
is it the
but
beard and fangs? The beard and the fangs, yeah, actually, that's kind of weird.
it's
You don't
just-
normally have beardy vampires.
Yeah. I don't know. It just makes me very uncomfortable. So, will they get off the ship?
Will my predictions be correct? Well, I guess we'll find out next time.
And we're back with part 2 of Amish Vampires in Space. So, thoughts?
It was what I expected in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Like, it's not a great book. It's Amish vampires in space. It's not so bad it's good,
Nope. It's not that.
but it's also not the worst thing I've ever read.
Okay.
Far from the best thing I've ever read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very far.
And predictable.
Would you read the rest of the series?
It's Amish zombies and Amish
Werewolves.
werewolves, right? Yeah. I think I will at some point,
Yeah.
just out of sheer curiosity, because, like, from what I understood, roughly half to 2/3 of their people died. Mm-hmm. Well, the second and third book are the same group. Like, it's still Jebediah.
Yeah.
So I want to know how many are left.
Yeah, I know.
And, like, do they get more Amish people? Because that seems like a rough recruitment drive there. And, like, the people that became vampires, they couldn't save them, so they just killed them. Which...
Well, they didn't kill them on purpose, though.
Oh, they killed them on purpose.
Well, yes, okay, but they didn't all, like, in the end, when they all died.
It was on purpose.
Did they know that was going to happen?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
They zapped them with sunlight.
Oh, right. I thought it was because,
The pheromone thing?
no, the number one, the first. First, is that what they
The
were?
first, yeah.
Yeah, because they killed her.
Yeah, which caused confusion, which made them more docile because they weren't getting orders or whatever. But then they zapped them all with the sun.
Right.
So they all turned to ash and went bye-bye.
Right.
No sparkling, thankfully.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. Well, they just...
But what else were they
Proof
going
to them.
What else were they going to do with them?
Well, that's the thing. I am surprised that the author killed off, like, half the people, because, like, there wasn't a single family that didn't have somebody affected.
Yeah.
So now they get dumped on this new planet, and they, like, what happens?
I know. Like,
See, that's why
because there was like
I'm
what,
gonna read them
20,
at some point.
20 people left or something.
Yeah, like there was not very much. It was a small group to begin with.
Although there was some people that were being held prisoner that hadn't been changed yet.
Yeah,
So I don't know how many were that.
but I think it's
Included.
safe to say it's under 100 people.
Probably.
So if now they have to go through Amish zombies, which also doesn't sound like something that can be saved, and Amish werewolves, at the end is it just going to be like Jebediah and Sarah standing there going, "Well."
That's the end of that. Yeah, I don't know. It was not upsetting, but to me it felt really unfortunate that so many people died.
I was expecting there to be some kind of antidote, something where they could at least save the people that hadn't changed completely.
Yeah.
Like, but they just went with, nah, kill them all.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know.
I know. I was
A little bit
sure.
disappointed by that.
I was sure that Darlie was going to figure something out in her lab.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, did she try?
Well, she was, like, researching.
She was researching and stuff. But once she found out that Sarah's pheromones could be replicated and used to chase the vampires wherever they wanted. Mm-hmm. Sorry, and you know those movie scenes where it's like you're looking down a hallway and there's people running one way and then they're running the next way and they're running the next way. That's just what's through my head now about vampires. Lots of cloaks and capes. Once they found out that the pheromone worked to repel them, they didn't really do anything else. Also, they're like, oh, the pheromone from a pregnant woman repels them. And then 3 seconds later, they got it synthesized, they've got it distributed, they've got everybody corralled where they want to be. And I'm like, what, do you, like, cut out 3 chapters here?
Well, suddenly at the end, it seemed like things were moving very quickly.
Yeah, pacing was very weird with the second half.
All of a sudden, they were on the new planet. Just like that. Like, they had, like, hours to go. And then suddenly, boom, they were there. And I was like, well, where did all the time go? What happened?
Like, the pacing felt very much like, oh, shoot, looking at word count here.
Yeah.
Like, is kind of odd.
But at the same time, I felt like there was times when the author could have been a bit more concise. Because, like, well...
How much Jebediah wandering the ship do we need?
And while I did feel like the pacing got better in the second half, like, it moved quicker, I had an easier time reading the second half than the first, for sure.
Yeah.
But I still felt like this book was too long.
I don't know about too long, because it's not a super long book. But to me, the pacing in the entire book is just all wrong.
Yeah. Well, the first half was...
Because we spend so much time with, like, the initial Amishness of it. And then you speed through some fairly crucial bits and slow down in the boring parts.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think it would be fine if he just fixed his pacing throughout.
Maybe.
Like, if it was a bit more consistent and, like, a little less... I'll just skip the Amish parts. Like, then I think it'd be better. Like, it's not a long book. It's no longer than any other Christian fiction book. But...
It's longer than some. Like, isn't it almost 500?
Judging by the size, it's pretty average.
481 pages.
Yeah.
So, I would say most Christian fiction would be like 350, 400 at the most.
I don't normally go by page numbers. Size-wise, it looks about the size of a regular Christian fiction.
But it's a heavy book.
Yeah. A lot of vampires in there.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it was a bit long. There was a bit... I don't know what, though. Like, what it was that... It's just too much.
I found it predictable, honestly. I'm like, oh, the woman in the glass coffin thingy cryo chamber is the first? Oh, shock me.
Kidding.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Grill's being hypnotized by her? Oh, no.
Yes. However...
Sarcasm is strong with this one.
I would like to point out that your predictions were all wrong, so...
I was going to say, I don't remember what I predicted. I was going along and I'm going, did I check off anything? Jebediah didn't get turned.
No. You said no to Jebediah.
Yeah.
You said no to Singer.
Singer didn't get turned either.
You said yes to the captain.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised he didn't, but he was also the most useless captain in the history of captains.
Oh my goodness, that captain didn't know how to do freaking anything.
Him.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, I'm in my office all day and I have comm units and I turn on this screen and I turn on that screen and I mute these people and I turn up the volume on these people. I'm like,
yeah.
Dude.
I know.
By the sounds of it, he never really leaves his office.
But he's won awards and accolades.
He has 2 pilots and can't remember their names.
I know.
Like,
it's so crazy.
Like it's Owen and, is it Egan? 2 pilots, dude.
I know.
Kind of the most important guys on the ship.
Exactly.
Like,
I know. He was an idiot.
I don't like him.
Agreed.
Terrible.
You said yes to Sarah.
Yes, I forgot about the pregnancy element. Totally didn't think about that.
Well, we said baby or baby vampire, Sarah not. So we did talk about it.
The baby did impact it, yes.
But, yeah. And
I still think baby vampire would have been cute. Just little teeth.
You said yes to Greels and yes to the bishop. But I don't think either of them.
Greels was hypnotized but not turned.
Yeah.
The bishop, I honestly thought he was going to. Honestly, I wanted to smack that guy by the end of it. I was to the point where I'm like, float him. Float him, stick him in an airlock and float him.
Could you imagine? He would be such a curmudgeonly old vampire.
Oh. No, I refuse to drink blood.
Maybe he would have been nicer. They all seem very, like, happy and loosey-goosey and, like...
Thing. Like, okay, at one point, I forget what I wrote down here. I mean, one of the things where I'm like, that Jebediah's like, oh, they had the beginnings of a mustache. I'm like, so what, a beard is fine, but a mustache isn't?
I know.
That's arbitrary. And what was the other one? Oh, the fact that the Amish smiling and happy is a warning sign of disease. What does that tell you about the society? Like, oh dear, you're happy. You must have an illness. Like, I'm like, how miserable are you usually?
I don't think it's that they were happy. It was the kind of happy that they were. It's different than,
Yeah,
like...
but still, like, they're like, oh, so many bright colors. I'm like,
Yeah, no, they don't. They're not known for their colors.
I know. It's ridiculous.
But it was, like... So that's the part that I found interesting, was reading it in the context of the Amish faith. Because they talked a lot more about their faith in the second half, and, like, the nonviolence. And so we don't want to fight back because we're nonviolent people, right? And we don't, like... Okay, you obviously...
Yeah.
But, like, it was interesting to me to have a book like this in the context of that faith.
See, that's the thing I think makes it interesting, and why I would read zombies and werewolves, because they're very non-violent, and they clutch desperately to their arbitrary rules, irregardless of how sensible it is.
Yep.
Like, to the point of their own survival and the survival of their families.
Yeah. And, like, some of them started questioning some of these things, like, well, if my life is at stake, am I just supposed to, like... let this person attack me because I'm a non-violent
Take me,
person.
Edward, I'm
like,
yours.
I can't fight back because that's what our leaders decided years and years ago. And I wish that part would have been fleshed out a little bit more. And, like, I don't know.
I think it was Singer at one point was discussing with Seal the Amish and their ways and whatnot. And she was explaining to him, you know, they shun all technology and... you know, they think this is a simple way of life, and he's going, they don't shun all technology, not by a long shot, because they're fine with, like, plowing and farming innovations. They're fine with a lot of food storage methods that are, you know, technology, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
They're fine with the wheel. They're not. It's all arbitrary what they decide is okay and what isn't.
I think it's modern technology that they...
Yeah, but does that mean that in 300 years, Amish having an iPhone's fine because we're all on to, like, narrow tech headsets?
In 300 years, there won't be an iPhone.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, are they just fine with just, like, to say they shun modern technology? Yeah, now that's accurate. But if you go, you know, 150, 200, 300 years from now, are they still going to be doing buggies and wagons? Or they're like, oh, now we're fine with combines, actually?
Yeah.
Like, because if you look at it, if you go back 150 years, they didn't shun modern technology. They were the same as everybody else. Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't...
It's arbitrary. That's what it is.
It doesn't make sense.
No, not in the slightest. I do not understand the Amish. I don't at all.
Like, what parts of the Bible did they get that from? You know?
They did mention it at some point.
Is that the be in the world but not of the world part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And completely ignoring the Jesus ate among the lepers kind of part.
But yeah, that's the other thing. Like, they very much keep to themselves, and like there's a lot of things from the Bible that they don't.
Yeah.
They don't follow.
That's the thing. The author called them out kind of on quite a few things where.
Yeah.
I think of something along the lines of, how are you supposed to actually teach anybody about the word if all you ever do is hang out with people that already know? Like. He said, go forth and preach the gospel, not tell Bob, your neighbor, who's heard it 15 times.
Yeah. But that's not, like, they're not known for their missional work.
No.
You know, and it's, like, to a certain extent, everybody who reads the Bible picks and chooses. Like, a little bit, right? Like, somewhere in the New Testament, it says that women should wear head coverings.
Yeah.
I don't wear a head covering.
Nope.
I don't think that makes me any less of a Christian, personally. Somebody else might feel differently, and that's fine. So yeah, there are those things, right, that we just don't follow.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But this seems like to the extreme, right? Like, they've kind of grabbed onto one thing, and this is the basis of our faith, right?
And anything different or challenging that in any way at all is shunning. Like,
Yeah.
That's your only option. You shun it.
You don't ask questions.
Like, and to think that can be something as simple as, like, somebody wearing a ribbon in their hair or getting a shiny new spade being enough to shun somebody.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, my interpretation of the Bible and Christ makes you not the nice person.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. Shunning is a weird concept to me.
Like, and it's all kind of based off the one Bible verse where it's something along the lines of, if your brother is sinning, go to him once and ask him to stop, and if he doesn't, go to him twice, and if he doesn't after that, leave him alone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's for big stuff, not little stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I will never understand the Amish. I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
Because it's all arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the hypocrisy of it.
Yeah.
Like, the modern day Amish, or I should say, the Amish in this current time and place, not in space, they can't drive a car, but they can ride in one.
Yeah.
So you consider driving a car sinful, but you're fine with me sinning on your behalf so I can take you to the hospital?
Yeah.
Like, you're fine dumping your sin on everybody else?
As long as I'm not sinning.
I don't get it.
No, like, that does not make sense at all. And, like, when I was in high school, I was fascinated by the Amish because that was before, like, there was so much Amish Christian fiction.
Yep.
But, like, there was a book series that I had when I was young that was about the Amish, and so I started reading it. I became, like, quite interested in it, and I actually did a big research project on them when I went to high school. I went to a Mennonite high school, so that was not, like, a weird thing to do. It was a Mennonite studies class, so it was, you know, it was a normal thing to do. And we went on a trip in grade 12, and part of that was, like, touring through Amish country in Pennsylvania.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And, like, taking their pictures without them knowing that we're taking their pictures and all the things, right? And
Amish stalking.
kind of. And I think we had an Amish person come on to our tour bus and give us a presentation, actually. So, yeah. So back then, like, I did a lot of research on the Amish. Do I remember it? Not really. But it was fascinating to me because the life was so different. And I don't know if it was because it seemed so uncomplicated that it was not appealing, but...
That's the thing that gets me, is they're always advertised as it's uncomplicated, it's simple, it's plain, it's, you know, the basics. But it's not.
It's not.
Because the number of arbitrary rules you have to keep in mind at all times. And you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And I know that's going to be the same for a lot of things, but, like, your personal life is regulated to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And it's not simple. Like, it's always advertised as the simple life. It's the simple life. What's simple about hooking up a horse and plow at 5 a.m, plowing all day, having gotten 3 acres done, versus me hitching up tractor and a plow, and I'm done by lunch?
Yeah.
What's simple about that?
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's that part of it is definitely not simple. And, like,
I can understand the appeal of the simpler life, like off-grid living. I get living back in the bush somewhere in a cabin that's solar powered and you got your own water and all you have is a pet goat. I get it. To me, I'm like, yeah, I could spend all day painting and sculpting. That'd be great. But that's different because it's not a society. It's not a group who's decided that I will live there. I have this and this water, this and this technology. I'm not allowed to have a refrigerator because parasites make you stronger. Like, it's...
Well, they obviously have ways of cooling their food.
Good old-fashioned ice boxes. I think now, for some of them, for the majority of them, I think refrigerators are okay now, is my understanding.
Yeah.
But again, like...
But they don't have electricity, right?
Slowly...
Or do they now, some of them?
It depends. It depends very much. Because you have the Amish communities that will have... Everything's horse-drawn, but it's a horse-drawn John Deere combine. Like...
Well, at least it's a John Deere.
No, I think International would be better, but we're not getting into that. The divisiveness of farm brands.
This could turn ugly.
I will say, my dad, huge tractor fan, to the point where he's buying glass display cases. And he's got one that's Farmall and one that's Case. One that's Farmall and International and one that's Case. Now, he's bought so many toys over the last little bit that they're both full.
But where's his John Deere collection?
They're currently in a box in his bedroom.
Oh, no. Nobody puts John Deere in a bedroom.
Nobody puts John Deere in the corner.
In the corner.
But that's... The brand loyalty thing is ridiculous. But, like, that kind of thing where they're fine with using the technology, but they're like, oh, because it's horse-drawn, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm all for economically and environmentally sustainable practices.
But that's not why they're doing it.
But that's not why you're doing it. It's arbitrary. Mm-hmm. I keep saying it, but it's arbitrary.
Say it one more time.
But that's the thing, where I'm like, if you got refrigerators now...
Mm-hmm. What's next?
What's next?
Yep.
Like,
I know. I mean, you can't stop progress.
No,
and
can't.
to a certain extent, they do have to adapt and be a little bit in the world.
Yeah. Are they fine with driving cars when we're flying cars?
Yeah, like...
See, I just want to pop ahead and look at the Amish in 300 years.
It would be interesting to know.
I think it would be.
And probably, yeah, like since I did all that research in high school, so many things have changed, right? And I think I just said this one time before. My brother worked in Ontario, and there's a lot of Amish people where he was in southern Ontario. And so when we went to visit him, and he worked for an Amish family, and so we actually were at their house and like met them, and very nice people.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like,
but
like with anything, as individual people, lovely.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
As a group, you don't understand their practices.
Yeah, like to me, there has to be a point, a purpose, a logic behind the rules.
Yeah.
Like, don't speed, because the more you speed, increases chance of car crashes, lower, reaction time, that kind of thing. What's wrong with color?
Yeah.
If God didn't want us to enjoy color, he would have made the world in black and white.
That is true.
Like,
that's an excellent point.
Things like that, where I'm like, why can't you take some joy in life? Mm-hmm. Why do you have to be miserable?
Yeah.
Like, he said, sing and make a joyful noise.
Yeah.
He didn't say, sit there and be miserable on your hardwood pews.
They do sing, though.
They do sing.
I don't know how rambunctious their songs are.
I'm assuming, like with anything, you've got a few more rambunctious ones, but I don't think it's ever going to be AC/DC.
Can you imagine?
AC/DC, that would be awesome.
Oh, goodness. Do you know the Weird Al song, Amish Paradise? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that one. Anyway,
do we want to get back to the actual book rather than...
Well, this is like...
tearing apart the Amish society.
Yeah. No, but the faith part of it intrigued me because, I just, like, in the context of vampires and... It
takes it completely out of what we normally think of the Amish and throws them into a situation that they'll probably never have to deal with. I mean, it's a parasite. Mm-hmm. So it is conceivable that a parasite would transform somebody. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Would it to this degree? Probably
not.
It is conceivable that a situation somewhat like this could happen.
Yeah.
In 500 billion years. So...
But yeah, that bishop, I just wanted to throttle him by the end.
There was one. I made a note here. I won't use all the curse words that I used when I was typing it out. But he at one point went, I think it was Singer. Singer?
Singer was the lady.
It must have been Singer. Was leading them somewhere or giving them direction in some way. And he was saying to himself, has the English society degraded to the point where Deborah had led the Israelites? And I'm going, excuse me?
Yeah.
Women are perfectly capable of leading. You're not doing a swimming job of it, so somebody has to do it.
Exactly.
Like, just the arrogance of him. The fact that when they're being attacked in their meeting room common space thingy, and vampires were literally enthralling and or eating, drinking, whatever, from their victims, then he was telling everybody else not to follow Jebediah over the wall, the only chance of safety, because Jebediah was shunned.
Yeah.
Like, demanding that people set aside their own well-being and their family's well-being for the sake of following an arbitrary rule that so does not matter during the situation.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you a cult leader? Because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Well, it's like the whole thing of I'm not going to protect myself because I don't believe in violence. You know, like, I consider myself to be a pacifist.
It's not protecting yourself. It's just running away.
Yeah, I don't...
You're not hitting anybody. You're not getting into a fist fight with a vampire. You're literally just running away. Right,
but even when it came down to, like, if they come back at us, we're not going to do anything because we don't believe in that. And like I said, I consider myself a pacifist, but I also believe that self-defense is important.
See, that's
like,
the
I'm not
thing.
just gonna roll over and...
I am not a pacifist because I don't have kids yet. But if somebody's hurting my kids, you bet I would do absolutely anything to make sure that stopped.
Yeah.
I cannot follow pacifism if it tells me to stand by and let my kids get hurt.
I don't think pacifism would tell you that.
That's the way my family, like, that's the way I was brought up with my family. That's how they read it.
Okay.
And the churches that I went to as a kid, same thing, where it's sit there and take it. I'm going, I can't, I'm sorry, that is not an option for me.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
See, for me, it's more of a, like, unnecessary violence, like wars and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but, like I would not do well in the States because we're not going to carry a gun. I'm not going to own 10 guns. That's not me. But, you know, like, protecting yourself, I don't think that's wrong.
See, that's the thing. Protecting yourself is fine. Like, I do not advocate for going and starting wars. But, again, the captain said at one point, so you're fine with everybody else fighting your wars for you? It's the whole, I am a pacifist, so I can't sin by defending myself. But can you go defend me, please? You can take on my sin?
Yeah.
Like, I am not okay with being a pacifist to the point where I am willing to put somebody else in danger because I'm not willing to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. Like, that's just not the way I function.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
Like, I think pacifism is good. I think less war is good for everybody. I think the States has way too many guns, and we can't even get into that because otherwise this will be a political diatribe for the next 3 hours. I did find the one thing I don't like about this book. It's not Amish vampires in space. It's Amish vampire bats in space. They turn into bats.
I know, that was gross to me. So gross.
I don't care, but be accurate in your titling. Like, and they all turned into bats. On the one hand, like, about a chapter or two before they turned into bats, there's the flying pig.
The flying pig. Oh, gross.
Pig's fly.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it's a flying pig while flying through space. So the flying pig was already flying, but the flying pig is now also flying.
Yeah.
But I'm going, okay, if they're taking on the traits of bats, where do the wings come in? Like, are they going to get wings? Because not going to lie, that'd be kind of cool. And then they got wings.
Yeah, it's
But, like,
gross.
they were very, like, it was vampire bats, not vampires. Which does now make me question, okay, what are the zombies? I'm assuming it's a flesh-eating bacteria of some sort. But the werewolves?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
You're going to have to read them and tell me because I am not going to be reading them. Yeah. I will say the second half was better. Mm-hmm. This is not the book series for me.
I enjoyed it, but I'll put it this way. I enjoyed it more than any other Amish book I think I've ever read. I will say that.
I will disagree. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just...
I will say, it was not gory by my versions of gory, or my gore indicator calculator rating system.
For me, there was some parts that were... some of the eating parts went into a little bit too much detail. And the bats, yuck.
I found the bats rather odd. I'm still annoyed by the whole, if you bite them, they turn into a vampire thing, because that's not a sustainable food source in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And I've never ever heard of a vampire book where the animals turn into vampires.
No, that part was a little weird.
But it's also a parasite, not, like, supernatural. So,
Yeah.
But one of the things I did find gross, which is ironic considering people were drinking blood, is they breathe on people to control them. We're going, ew! That part I'm like, no thank you.
That is...
I'm fine with vampire flying pig, but don't breathe on me.
That's leftover paranoia from COVID.
No, people breathing annoys me. Like, loud breathers, go away.
I agree. Also loud chewers.
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah. No, I know. That part was also weird.
Yeah, very.
Although you wouldn't have noticed because you would have been sort of hypnotized anyways.
Yeah, but still.
I know.
It's, no.
Yep.
Just that part, for some reason, is just grossing me out. So.
I will give kudos to the author for tackling this topic, though.
Yeah.
Like, and also in an inspirational context. Mm-hmm. You know, like...
That's the thing. It is Christian fiction.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there's a vampire parasite thingy, but it is still very, like, the main characters are Amish. With actual Amish faith, according to...
Yeah. And struggling with their faith, like...
Yeah.
And what to do. Like, at the end, Jebediah and Sarah didn't go with the rest of the Amish people. Mm-hmm. So that would be the part that I would find more interesting. Like, what do they do?
See, that's the thing. I think Jebediah is one of the main characters in the second book. Mm-hmm. So does he find different Amish? Because if it's only 2 Amish and there's vampires in space, does that really count as vampires in space? Like, if there was 2 Hispanic people in space and they happen to be zombies, you wouldn't say Hispanic zombies in space because there's 2 of them.
Well, but they're both Hispanic, so you could still classify them as such.
Yeah, but a lot of these also weren't Amish.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
They were turning the crew and stuff, so... And I mean, you don't go, pigs, vampires in space.
No.
Donkey vampires in space. Like,
Ew.
by my thinking, somewhere either Jebediah and Sarah either meet more Amish people
They must rejoin their group,
or rejoin their group. Yeah.
I feel like.
Although, honestly, with Samuel, I'd count that as a no. So, no. I will say, one of my favorite lines that I read, again, Samuel, because the guy's a gem for making me mad. Individualism ran amok. Oh dear. The nerve.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
I know.
I will read the next 2 books at some point. Just sheer curiosity.
You'll have to report back so that I don't have to read them.
I will give you a full and detailed report.
Okay.
Slideshow even, maybe.
A slideshow. Oh, boy.
PowerPoint presentation.
Yahoo.
But, I don't know. It's one of those where I'm going, if you want to read an Amish book that's not your stereotypical Beverly Lewis nonsense, this is the book for you. Mm-hmm. If you're looking to read your stereotypical Beverly Lewis nonsense, this probably isn't the book for you. But I will say it examines the Amish in an entirely different light than what you normally see them.
Yep. And also science fiction. Mm-hmm. Christian science fiction is not something that you see very often, maybe ever. I was trying to think if I could think of any, but not off the top of my head.
I want to say we have like a YA series that might be Christian fiction werewolves.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell you titles or authors or anything like that.
So if it does exist, it is very rare. Mm-hmm. So if you do like science fiction, check it out.
See, that's the thing that always intrigues me, is with science fiction, I mean, many things intrigue me with science fiction, but once you leave Earth and its associated religions and cultures and that kind of thing, and you drop down to another planet with entirely different religions and cultures, how does your faith change or impacted by it? Mm-hmm. Because clearly now humans are not the only civilization. Yeah. So it opens up for entirely different conversations. And that's the thing too with this. It challenges the Amish rhetoric. Mm-hmm. Like for the Beverly Lewis nonsense books. Not a fan, in case you can't tell. Honestly, with those, it drives me a little bit batty because it's always, the Amish are good. The Amish way is the best way. And occasionally when there's the Englisher, that comes and like, oh, the Amish intrigued. I want to leave my big city life. Really hate these books. Oftentimes the middle ground is, well, we're old colony Mennonites now.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of both. But it's always portrayed as the Amish way or the simpler way is the best way.
Yep.
And this book challenges that. Mm-hmm. And I really like it because, like I said, most of the time it's just whitewashed and not... And I get it. You don't read Beverly Lewis Amish fiction to challenge your religious beliefs. No. Or to challenge your societal beliefs in any way, shape, or form.
Not at all.
But there's a point where I'm going, yeah, maybe you should a little bit. Questions are good.
The world is not black and white.
No.
Sadly.
And even, Jebediah not going back with his Amish colony. Mm-hmm. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Because he was quite curious about the ship. And the well, all the technology, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely sense that struggle of like, well, I'm curious about this and I want to know more, but this is my faith. This is how I've been brought up. This is such a big part of me. How can I turn my back on my faith because of this? And how can this be bad, though? Like, what is bad about this? And, like, you know, like, all of those. That was the part for me that I liked, but that was a very small part in relation to the rest of the book. And, like, or also, like, they saw Kanji with one of the Amish girls taking her to his room or something, and it was like the question of, well, do we say something or do we not? Do we pretend like we didn't see it? Like, you know, all of those things that are like, you know, this is not my business, so I'm going to stay out of it and pretend I didn't see. But, well, maybe they're acting weird. What should I do? And
that's the thing.
Like, all of those, that part for me was the most interesting part of this book.
Well, they took an Amish society, picked it up and plunked it down into a completely different situation than any Amish book I've ever seen.
Yep.
And it makes you think. Because how would it actually, like, you've gone from horse and buggy to spaceships.
Yep.
And the ethical dilemmas of many various things. It approaches the Amish question, as it will, in a completely different manner.
Yep.
And challenges it. And ultimately, it doesn't. It challenges it without stomping on it.
Yeah.
Unlike me, who's just full on tap dance. Like,
yes. But the other thing is the fact that they're living in space and their technology has not changed one iota.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a point where I'm going, water filtration systems, atmospheric issues, like...
Must be another planet like Earth.
Well, the thing is, I believe at some point it was mentioned that Alabaster was terraformed, which would mean that they make it as Earth-like as possible. So, but to think you can live on a planet and it's the exact same as it is now is, you know, like even the animals. I will say the constant animal mashing I found a little annoying.
Yep.
Like, he had a frizzard, a frog mixed with a lizard, and I'm going, frogs are cool, lizards are cool, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all for genetic diversity. Clone a banana. Do something else with it, because bananas, genetically speaking, are in trouble. But do we really need frizzards?
Well, frogs, good. Lizards, good.
Frizzards, good.
Yeah. Is that Friends?
Friends, Joey the meat trifle.
Oh, yeah.
Meat, good. Jam, good.
Yeah.
Whipped cream, good.
The meat trifle.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, this, honestly...
It's a wild ride.
It's a wild ride. If the title appeals to you, read the book. If you look at the title and go, what the heck? I'm not touching that. Then don't.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a different look at Amish society.
It is different from any other inspirational fiction that you have ever read. No? It's different from any inspirational fiction I have ever read.
I've never read science fiction, Christian fiction. Science Christian fiction? Yeah. But it's not super... I'm just thinking in terms of, like, the bloodiness of it. I have read worse. Like, there's been serial killer Christian fiction books where I'm going, okay, this is way more advanced.
It's not... I'm just talking about concept-wise.
Concept-wise, yeah, it's relatively different. So, but, yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. Do you have any fun facts for us?
I do. So, I have a quote from Kirsten Beachy from the Center for Mennonite Writing Journal. So I'm just going to read it. These are her words, not mine. Seriously, the guy actually researched the darn thing. It's much more solidly grounded in Amish religious practice than the current leading trilogy of Amish vampire romance novels and most bonnet rippers. A bunch of the character conflicts rest on essential Amish beliefs in nonconformity, nonviolence, and shunning, and he dredges up and shares the appropriate biblical passages that form the basis of them. There's also Jacob Ammon's Honest Truth, a reference to the infamous Hostetler massacre. So if your local Mennonite historical library initially tried to collect all the Beverly Lewis books and eventually gave up on stocking the myriad Amish romance titles, which added little or nothing to the wider cultural understanding of Amish cultures, you should recommend this book for the collection as one which does indeed add something. So I just thought that was an interesting take on the book.
That sums up about the last 20 minutes of us talking.
Yeah, kind of does.
We should have started off with the fun facts.
But it's a good summary and a actually positive review, for lack of a better word.
That's the thing. You cannot argue the fact that he has researched the heck out of this book.
Yeah. I just like the part too about initially tried to collect all the Beverly Lewis books and eventually gave up. So, yeah. And then just a little background on the book. It started as a joke by Jeff Girk of Marcher Lord Press, a Christian sci-fi publishing house. So there are other Christian sci-fi books out there.
I will have to go shopping.
Which I forgot that I wrote this. Who circulated a mock cover design for Amish Vampires in Space Book 3, Vain Pursuit.
That's a good title.
It is clever. Later, author Kerry Nietz contacted him and asked whether he could have permission to use the concept and write it straight. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, write it straight, as in not as a joke thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And write it straight. So that is sort of how the book came to being.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Thing is, is it going to be the best book you've ever read? No.
Nope.
Is it going to be the worst book you ever read? No. Will this book make you think? If you're at all interested in the Amish? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
it will. So, I mean, those are our thoughts.
Yeah. I did enjoy it to a degree.
And if you've read it, let us know what you think.
Yes, please do. I want to know other opinions. Comment and tell me if you've read Amish Vampires in Space. Mm-hmm. And if you've read Amish Zombies and Amish Werewolves in Space, because I am curious about those two. So that's what we thought of this book.
But those are just our opinions, and we'd like to hear yours.
So leave us a comment.
Thanks for joining us for Between the Lines, and thanks to our editor, Linda.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.